Hello, chat. We're here with another week of news. It's officially September now. And we're here with yeah.
It's March 184th, 2020.
We're here with government and security news, and I have a very important update about my pumpkin. Look at him. He's fresh off the vine.
Hang on.
I've got him up in in my screen, but we have a photo.
But you're not on the screen.
Oh no!
We've made a terrible error. There you go.
Hey, here he is. He's roughly smaller than my head.
I don't want to cast shade on your lovely pumpkin, but I was expecting something a little larger.
He looks a little premature.
No, he's totally ready. I think that growing him in a container probably stunted his growth, but that's all I can do in an apartment. So
he needed vitamins. It was like me when I was little. It's like he ain't growing right. Oh, let's give him some vitamins. Oh lordy, he's growing.
I have put Tums on my plants, so I mean, they need that calcium treatment.
Do you give them any kind of nutrients or anything like that?
When I first planted them, I put some fertilizer in the ground with them, but other than that, I haven't. For my tomatoes and my peppers, I've had to do calcium treatments just so they don't get the end rot, but other than that, they've been fine.
Do you think possibly I know stress is really critical for plants. Like if plants are stressed, they will stop growing. Could it be that dangling above his sure death for weeks on end could have presented a stressful situation?
I don't think so. Because look how healthy is he? Turned orange. He's hollow.
We'll build
He's too small.
a level 1 project. Will be like a plant voice translator in the future, and then when Chris is doing that again, it's like, all right, let's see if it's working. And we pointed at Pumpkin 2.0 that's dangling, and it's just
if we were trying to reproduce the dangling pumpkin, we'd never succeed at it.
I didn't think we were going to get any at all because we kept losing the flowers. Like the male flowers would die, and then the female flowers would die. And I was like, well, maybe it just can't be done in a container, but. He's proof it can be done in a container. You can grow a pumpkin. It's just like a little 5-gallon bucket.
I think probably what happened is that one flower that made a pumpkin is the one that couldn't see through your door to the TV. And it didn't know what was happening in the world.
It was like, well, okay.
The other ones were like, no, we won't subject a child to this.
What a lovely day. What's going on in the world? Oh no.
Now let's get right into that lovely news, and let's talk about still lockdown. That's still a thing. A lot of other stuff going on, but we're still just at home watching it, and it feels surreal. And when you're at home watching it, actually, the element in my oven burned out, and I've never been more aware of the fact that I'm in a place where I can't order any food. It's really frustrating. Imagine if your refrigerator broke during all this, you couldn't get it repaired.
I would have to switch to like the emergency backup fridge.
That's so Kentucky.
Backup.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that's also kind of like it's like a half white trash, half like rich suburban.
It's not pure Kentucky unless it's on the porch.
Yeah. No. Totally. Yeah.
So anyway, you might want to get some food ordered at home, and you're thinking to yourself, hey, times are tough. People, especially these gig economy people, they're getting crushed. Let me throw them a few dollars. And so the little tip slider, it's like 15%. I'm gonna slide it up to 20. I'm a generous and loving person. And then you click, but what you didn't know was this.
The DC Attorney General sues Instacart, claiming it deceived customers into thinking service fees would go to workers. Yeah, turns out technology, when it was being used behind closed doors, it's like, hey, we'll just make our application not actually give that tip to those gig workers, and that's illegal.
Now, they mentioned, back in the day, when Instacart started, that was a tip. But here, so Instacart, in 2016, I'll look this website hijacks my highlight.
You scroll. Oh.
Ugh.
Oh, CNBC.
They paid somebody to do that. Why would you do that?
And to get those shares. And so they replaced the tip section with an optional service fee. Now, the interface looked the same. I think the wording was a little different. But the slider was still there, and it still defaulted to 10%. And it was like, hey, every other time I order food online, that's how I give a tip. But no, that money went straight to Instacart. The workers didn't get it. And they were like, hey, if you set that to 10% and then you didn't give your delivery driver any tip, you're the problem. no tipper.
Why would you tip Instacart?
Because they're so wonderful.
Meanwhile, the Euros in our channel chat are like, is this some sort of joke that I'm too European to understand?
Oh, I think they
don't
make
tip
plenty
over
of jokes about that. It is a ridiculous system.
It is.
Yeah.
Pay them.
I don't know how you stop it, though. I mean, because if you if we all stopped paying taxes, we could stop it. But you can't organize people on that level.
No.
So you can't
Well,
organize
you don't
people.
want to screw over someone who's like making your food either. Like just because it's like, well, I don't believe in tipping, and it's like,
That's
well,
what I'm saying.
It's making $3 an hour. So
Yeah, you're just an asshole.
Yeah.
if you're the tip of the spear there. So I don't know what we do about it. You can. Some people I've seen like they'll put 0 on the card, and then like secretly try to give the server money.
Yeah, that's a pretty good
And
strategy.
that would work in this situation fine. But then I think if they get caught doing that, they're probably gonna get fired.
Yeah. Well, I guess with the Instacart thing, how would they ever know?
No, I'm saying at a restaurant though.
Yeah, at a restaurant.
yeah.
The restaurant. Sometimes the restaurant will take like 5 or 10% or whatever, which should be illegal.
What if we came up with a system of tokens that weren't actually money, but could only be used for tipping?
Could just raise the minimum wage and then say that.
But they don't
people who
have to.
serve food.
They don't have to pay a minimum wage, right? Because somehow that
Yeah,
the
but like,
tipping
why not
system-
just change that? Like, make them pay minimum wage, then tipping would not be necessary.
Well, good luck changing that.
Chris said that's
Yeah.
too political. We've got to talk about the technology of Instacart.
You're gonna lobby for that. You're gonna go against Big Restaurant. And they're gonna kill Little Roo.
They just murder her in cold blood.
Speaking of big corporations and their influence on the political process, sometimes they don't like the way that court decisions go, and when that happens, they form these gangs basically and try to influence the world.
Carmakers urge the FTC to fight Qualcomm ruling. So I learned some stuff in this that I didn't realize. But the automakers are saying, yeah, we think that Qualcomm is like, while they're not following the letter of anti-competitive law, we think that the end result is a harm to consumers, and we think that is covered under anti-consumer law. So they're basically saying, we think that the courts have erred here. And it's Tesla, Ford Motor, Honda, Daimler, Intel, and MediaTek. Well, Intel, I don't trust. But Intel does not have clean hands with respect to Qualcomm. I mean, they were basically receiving trade secrets from Qualcomm through Apple illegally. That deserves its own investigation. But the automakers here do actually make some interesting points with regard to what Qualcomm is doing with their patents and technology. But if they are the best in the world, isn't the patent system a time-limited monopoly for precisely those reasons?
So they make the point that, I mean, why do car companies care? Well, cars are going to become big phones, basically. And the car companies are realizing that they are going to be paying Qualcomm a ton of licensing fees.
The car companies are realizing that Intel's 5G modem ain't that great.
And so they're trying to get ahead of it because, I mean, every product you make, of course, Apple and all the phone makers are already dealing with this, but every product you make, take a portion of that and give it to Qualcomm. And it's non-negotiable. Because what are you going to do?
It seems like these companies are well funded and well organized enough that they could create the standard. Like they could form a co-op and then spend billions of dollars researching these standards and then create the standards as a co-op, which is, one of the things that they accused Qualcomm of doing was, it's like, hey, they helped develop the standards and then they own the standard and they can make money that way. And it's like, yeah, that wasn't done for free. That's their business model.
But they do the exact opposite of that. Everything down to like intermittent wipers
They just steal.
is licensed.
Yeah.
No, you can't steal it.
Well, they did actually, but that's fine.
So their business model is exactly like Qualcomm's.
Just from the other end.
Huh.
Yeah.
TikTok, that whole thing is still going on, and they are now banned. And it's like, who's going to buy us?
Well,
we're ready to be plucked.
the real ban doesn't happen until September 15th.
No, but I mean,
Yeah.
it's decided.
Yeah.
But you know what? You got to fight it any ways you can.
TikTok sues the U.S. government over Trump ban. The main argument in their lawsuit is that they were denied due process. We'll see how that works out for them.
It's a decent argument.
Yeah.
I mean, he kind of just got on Twitter and said, this is happening. and then sign a piece of paper. Yeah. Well, that is the way we govern now. And speaking of China, the Cold War, trade war, what do we call it?
Whatever's happening right now, the decay of the U.S. I don't.
All in one is still raging on, and we're figuring out that we have a lot of former Chinese nationals in our education system, and when you look under the hood a little bit, maybe they're not quite as red, white, and blue as we'd hoped.
Texas A&M professor accused of secretly collaborating with China amid NASA work. So this is somebody that actually worked at the university in China from like 2011 until sometime. And he came here and he's doing some work for NASA. But in the work for NASA, it said, hey, don't share any of this information with Chinese nationals, Chinese universities, Chinese educators, China. And it turns out that they might have been doing that. So this is a court case to follow because, you know, you wouldn't think that what NASA is doing is really like super secret or like government secret or national security or anything like that. But nevertheless, the feds are really interested in this case for some reason.
I think interstellar rockets can be used for other purposes. You know, the whole World War II thing. So yeah, maybe keep that a secret.
Going to the moon on the wings of the Third Reich, is that what you say?
So, Krista, this next article, my God, this web design.
I was caught on the image they used for the last article. They have the professor's image, but they also included like his professional page on the website, and then they blurred out the phone and email, but I just looked it up and it's still there. Why would you make it so I know that his information's available and then look it up? Like,
should we call him live on the news?
Hey, we heard you're a traitor.
We know what you're up to, Chang. So yeah, this next one, Krista, this BuzzFeed article. Let's enjoy this with the chat. So this is what you get when you go to the page, and it's like, oh, what is this web page broken? Let me scroll. Okay, well, its background is fixed. Oh, okay, that's not the title of the article. That's kind of getting us there, though. Let's see what's next. And oh, you're bleeding this out to me like 5 scrolls at a time. Is that what we're doing? And then finally, oh, look, when you scroll back up, you do get the article.
This is very frustrating. I feel like there's a better way to...
I think maybe a GIF would have been a better choice here.
Yeah. Well, because at first I'm reading the text. I'm so focused on the text, I don't notice that the buildings are changing in the background. I had to scroll back up to realize what it was trying to do.
And finally here, I guess, is their actual title of the article. Anyway, it's about China.
China's building some concentration camps, it looks like.
Built.
Yeah,
they are built. They're complete. One of them went up in 6 months. How long does it take to build a prison in America?
At least 10 years.
Yeah, ages.
It took 2 years to reopen the prison that was shut down where I lived, and there was a skeleton crew there during the 2 years. Like, why would it take 2 years to reopen something that had been maintained while it was closed?
Because the contract was for a certain amount, and if you don't spend it all, you don't get to keep it all. So this is not really news, I guess. We have known about this for a while, but it is kind of pointing out the massive number of these things. I don't know, how big are Chinese counties? Are they comparable to our counties?
I think they're larger.
So
I don't know.
Every one of them has one of these in that region. I think it's the western region, right?
That's not good. And this is...
Yeah, it looks like it.
This is predominantly
what was that?
Uyghur Muslim. What
was that noise?
I don't know.
Yeah.
What noise?
I don't think it's predominantly. I think it's pretty much just...
No, the article said that there were a bunch of other minorities that were caught up in this, but those are the big ones.
So, yeah. And they say... So China says they are being de-radicalized and that they are, basically terrorists, and they need to do this. But according to this article, or, what is this, BuzzFeed? These are some of the offenses that can get you there, which seems a little heavy-handed.
Downloading WhatsApp is banned in China, maintaining ties with family abroad, engaging in prayer, and visiting foreign websites.
Concentration camp. We talked last week about the forced labor that seems to be going on. And, yeah, pretty dark. And they're not really denying that these exist. They're just saying these people deserve it.
Yeah, I don't. They also mentioned forced sterilization, which is.
Oh yeah, right.
You know,
Well, there's also
what kind of crime punishment is that? I mean, I can understand that if for like someone like a severely mentally handicapped adult. That other than that, I don't.
They've done that in like child predator crimes. That kind of makes sense. If it's like a multiple offender.
Yeah, but those are
there's
edge
a full
cases.
quote in here though talking about there's a pregnant woman in shackles, another woman was nursing a baby. Like,
Yeah, it's weird
that's
because
horrific.
like they do the forced birth control too, because they don't segregate male and female. So you're in there with your family, which is weird because you wouldn't think that the entire family would have committed the crimes, right?
It's almost like
You think the husband was looking at some like radicalized website, and the wife just like strolled by and looked over, and she was like, "Oh God, no."
The U.S. It also is mentioned that the whole forced labor aspect of this, and companies like Lenovo are caught up in that. So we talked last week about how some of the laptops that students will be getting, going back to school, they may have been manufactured by this kind of labor. And it's like in the U.S. we kind of have that too for people that are in prison, but I don't think we have the organist harvesting here in the U.S.
Yet.
Yeah.
The Celebrite Corporation. Yeah, remember them? They hack phones. And they hack phones for governments. They're not black hat, as it were. They're white hat, except it's stained with red sometimes. And because they tend to work with some despotic governments, including that of the United States and many European countries. Which is weird because the way this works is they're saying that this is a human rights issue when China does it. But it's happening here.
Yeah.
But when China does it.
Israeli phone hacking company faces court fight over sales to Hong Kong. The workers inside the company did not join to help the Chinese dictatorship, says one human rights lawyer. So things are getting kind of dicey in Hong Kong. We'll learn later about a guy that is going to prison for 5 months for having too many zip ties on his person in Hong Kong.
And I guess, the argument obviously is going to be that if Celebrite busts you in the U.S., you don't suffer the same, you don't get forced sterilization and labor camp. But at the same time,
if you build the technology, it will be abused.
Yeah, it's...
which is the thing that we're always saying.
Celebrite is obviously defending it. They're saying there's nothing wrong with it. Shut up.
We just make the tool. We don't control how people use it. I'm like, oh.
I mean, it is true, but the tool, yeah, I guess in a way we are blaming the gun there, if you really break it down. It shouldn't be up to Celebrite. It should be up to the corrupt governments. But they're corrupt.
Well, I just want a phone that's actually secure. Like, if you perfectly implement the encryption, Celebrite can't help you.
That phrase would only ever be uttered by a terrorist. So I'm going to schedule your forced sterilization for next week.
It's funny because that's actually a thing that would land me. It's like I would say something like that and be the wrong religion. Oh, I'm off to the camps with you.
Hope you like making laptops. Oh, they'd love you.
I don't understand.
Yeah, they would.
I don't understand how the State Department is aware of this and they're not,
Our State
Doing
Department?
anything?
Yeah.
Of course they're not going to do anything.
Israel could be burning children, and our State Department wouldn't say anything about it. That ain't how that works. So, yeah, things are weird in China, and they're getting weirder. And the whole U.S.-China kerfluffle is leading to a lot of the big names in manufacturing being like, yeah, this China thing, if the war gets just a little bit hotter, I worry about our profits.
Yeah.
So we should probably think about, maybe a secondary place to go. And then it's like, oh, well, yeah, number 2, let's just go to Taiwan. Ooh.
Yeah, no.
Also an issue with the China situation.
Yeah.
So where can you go? An unlikely answer.
Exclusive. Foxconn and other Asian firms consider Mexico factories as China risks grow. Now, that's the headline, but the Reuters article also talks about how Foxconn is already in the process of establishing similar factories in India. So it seems like Foxconn is hedging its bets a little bit. Now, technically, Foxconn's headquarters, that's in Taiwan. That's in Taipei. But yeah, Mexico. Hey, Mexico worked out great for Lexmark, pretty much.
Cheap labor.
Yeah. There's just, honestly, it seems like the hesitation from a lot of these companies is that there's not enough people in Mexico to do the work, which is surprising.
But I imagine if you build the middle class, a lot of the people who are currently crossing that border will stay there.
Yeah.
And have some nice jobs, because we don't have those jobs.
No.
Now, there's one small problem in Mexico. Just a little problem.
Cartels?
Drug cartels, yeah.
Don't worry
about that.
I imagine you throw them some money, they'll be okay.
This harkens back to the days of like, you remember like the old Celerons, like you go to the computer show and like they would let you look through the Celerons and it's like you found the Malaysian Celeron and it's like, oh yeah, you can get the Malaysian Celeron because there was Costa Rica and there was a couple other ones and it's like, no, you don't want the Costa Rica Celeron, you want the Malaysian Celeron because those things overclock like crazy. The Malaysian, it's going to be like that with consumer goods. It's like, I don't want this thing that was manufactured in Mexico. I want the one that was manufactured in Asia or vice versa. And that's going to be an interesting thing for consumer products, I think.
What if here's a conundrum for you, chat, and an engagement conundrum. What if you know that you want the best processor, the tolerance is going to be crazy, is the made in China.
Made by the concentration camp.
It's made by slave labor in China.
No. No.
You can get an extra 0.5 gigahertz. You have to ignore the human rights violations.
I would only do this, like you can get your 128 core Xeon or whatever. Well, no, I mean, I guess you can get your 128 core ARM processor that's amazing, but you have to adopt a Uyghur Muslim family. That might not be terrible.
It's actually really frustrating if you are interested in trying to like purchase things that are made ethically, because in terms of electronics, there's literally nothing that isn't made in China.
Yeah. Well,
literally nothing. Like even just weather radios.
Yeah.
Not made in China.
If you just break it down, it's like, I want these, I'm going to, like, there's tons of stuff that's made in Taiwan, but a lot of the raw materials will come from China and other places. So.
But if you look into the food situation, that's going to break your heart too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that's coming from some dark places. Yeah. Especially chocolate.
But
you can buy fair trade chocolate though. That's a little easier.
Is it that? It's way more expensive. I don't think a lot of the big companies
if you don't have a lot of disposable income, it's impossible. But if you have a little bit of disposable income, you can buy fair trade chocolate.
Are there even fair trade bananas? Because I don't think so.
No. Produce is difficult to track. Grow your own if you can.
Bananas.
Level 1 pumpkin. No, there's a fruit that grows here. I actually found one yesterday on a hike called a pawpaw that is like a mix between a banana and a papaya. And they are native to North America, but they're very difficult to ship, so they've never really taken off. But you can find them in the forests around here.
You're not supposed to be taking items that you find in the forest, Krista.
I was in an area you could. But the pawpaw was underripe, so it didn't really matter.
There were so many of those trees around the house that I grew up in, and but you could only there was like a 3-week period where we were making like pies and stuff out of them, and I always look forward to that part of the year because it was all so good. But it was like from the time the first one was ready to the time they were all rotten and like varmints and insects had gone nuts was a very short period of time.
Yeah, it's actually right now. So like now is the time to find pawpaws if you're in like the South here in the States.
Isn't that really just like the curse of the banana? It's green till it's black.
Yeah.
So the whole censorship thing is not just exclusive to China. The Thai government, which just recently got a new king, is also being a little heavy-handed with the online censorship.
Facebook blocks group critical of Thai monarchy amid government pressure. So there were 1 million people in this group. The Thai government thought it was getting a little out of hand. They asked Facebook to block it, and they did, because that complies with local law, because apparently criticizing the monarchy in Thailand is against the law.
They had the name of what that was called. Lazy something or other. And can't do it. This is the Thai king who was those crazy pictures. Remember those crazy pictures?
Oh, the shirtless pictures? Yeah.
Wasn't that? Didn't the people love his dad? And then
right.
he took over.
He
and
was
was
very and then they're not as much a fan of this guy.
Oh, it's the Lenin-Stalin problem all over again.
So, watch your back. Facebook says they don't want to do this, but their hands are tied. What are you going to do? And another reason that Facebook has to be sad about some government actions this week is in France.
I think this is happiness. Facebook's
That's
paid more
smart.
than $110 million in back taxes in France. So this is 10 years of taxes. There was an audit, and the audit basically said, hey, Facebook, you can't structure your taxable income this way. Facebook, to their credit, didn't actually do that much creative accounting like the mental gymnastics required. It didn't seem to me like they had gone that far off the deep end, but 10 years of taxes, Facebook was supposed to pay an extra, a little less than $10 million a year on average. There's some penalties in there. $110 million for 10 years of taxes for Facebook in France doesn't seem that terrible.
They sent a page in to tell Zuckerberg about that. And he looked at the note and he was like, how dare you interrupt my defrag cycle for $110 million? And he had this like, report for your 20 lashes.
And then he started smearing the sunscreen on his face again.
And then his eyes rolled up at his head, and you could hear a low whirring, clicking
Continue
sound.
the defrag cycle. Clearview. Remember Clearview? They're an evil company that does facial recognition.
Hideously evil use of technology.
And we were never... So Clearview has a non-disclosure agreement with the police agencies they work with. So if you work with them, you're not allowed to tell anybody about it. But they're feeling so good about their success, they told us themselves.
Clearview AI CEO says over 2,400 police agencies are using its facial recognition software. Remember how we always talk about facial recognition software being way, way inaccurate, especially with minorities? Why are we doing this? Why is this permitted?
Because it's useful. And they have pointed out, we've done previous stories, that they are definitely using that on the riots.
Yeah.
If you go out and you riot and you come home and you're looking over your goods that you looted and you're like looking back at your phone videos, it's like, oh man, I can't believe we got away with that. You might not have.
People are just posting those to Twitter. They post the videos.
Yeah, people are
live
stupid.
as it's happening.
Well, you're going to be in a worse situation with that, though, because the facial recognition is going to match you to your driver's license, and then it's going to be like, what's your alibi? And it's like, I was home quarantining like you're supposed to be. I was playing Mario. Can you pull the logs off Mario? Because the Mario thing is what I'm doing. It's like, no, we think you were at a protest. That's going to happen a lot.
Do you ever think, too, though, like, when you see any of the footage of, like, the streams and stuff on Twitter of, like, people looting, do you ever think, like, did this person come here, like, because they just wanted to loot, or was this someone who was sent here so someone could get a video so it could be posted to further divide the American people?
Well, all of those people involved in the one shooting, not the latest one, the one before the 17-year-old kid, they were all from out of state. They were all there because somebody organized events.
Do you think the FBI is questioning any of those people?
I don't think there
sure,
are enough people to really suss this out in any kind of fair, insane way.
But they also have to worry about, if they follow up on these crimes and it goes the way that the mob doesn't like, the mob will spread. So what do you do?
I don't even think the mob really understands what has happened, like what has transpired or what actually happened.
That's what I'm wondering, though. Like, is there potentially a foreign state that's, like, trying to rile everybody up they send in individual people to make this go viral, so to speak?
I don't think it's a foreign state, but yeah, there are clearly like 4 or 5 groups that are engaging in a proxy war.
It's bizarre.
And, along those lines, this is a little bit older article, but it just kind of points out the whole Clearview thing.
Cops in Miami and New York City are arresting protesters from facial recognition matches. Cops' use of tech is among the list of things protesters are demanding against or demonstrating against. There's a quote in there from the police that was like, hey, we can't use this unless you're committing a crime. But a lot of these places, it's like, oh, you're out after curfew. That's a crime. Oh, you're jaywalking. That's also a crime. You're resisting arrest. Wait, but what? That's a crime.
I don't know about you, but I've done a lot of jaywalking in my time. So
I think the cure for jaywalking is, once we have cameras everywhere, and I'm not advocating we put cameras everywhere, but once we have them,
they're coming.
The punishment for jaywalking is the cars are allowed to hit you. That'll solve that overnight. Well, that maybe take a week.
No, it would take a while. People would still be like, well, I didn't know that was a law yet.
No, they wouldn't, because they'd be dead. That's the thing. So, yeah. Security. Let's talk about security. You're online. You're using all of your, fancy security stuff. You're staying safe. You're doing everything right. But guess what? You're not doing everything right.
Nope.
Because it's the patterns that will betray you.
Identifying people by their browsing histories by Bruce Schneier on security. You should check this out, because just innocuous things, a million innocuous things that your browser is allowed to do programmatically can fingerprint you. Like it can check your resolution. It knows like how many monitors you have. It knows what plugins you have installed. It knows to a certain extent what websites you visited before, because it can do a little bit of history sniffing. With that, you can easily fingerprint a web browser. And
I think you're combining these two stories.
Yeah.
That was your history.
Well, yeah, and a quarter of the Alexa top 10 websites are using browser fingerprinting scripts to fingerprint you. So in addition to sniffing your history, all of the other stuff. So yeah, this one's from ZDNet, not just Bruce Schneier's blog. So yeah, this is bad.
Now, some modern browsers are starting to block this, although they point out, it's an arms race.
Yeah.
So the more stuff they block, the more they come up with on the marketing side to defeat it.
Yeah, what's really driving this is a misunderstanding by ad agencies that there continues to be value in doing this type of advertising. What's really happening is we're sort of returning to the old model of, if you want to advertise to readers of the New York Times, you're going to have to advertise on the New York Times. We can't play games with analytics anymore.
And among all of these happenings in the world, from Kenosha to Hong Kong, large groups of people outside doing stuff, and you want to track them. How do you do that? It takes specialized equipment. Lucky for us, we're constantly launching new and more powerful pieces of those equipment into the orbit.
Modern spy satellites in an age of space wars. We included this story so that you can read about all the fun things that we can do from space. This article, in a very thinly veiled kind of way, talks about how these satellites are able to observe cell phone conversations from space. It also talks about imaging, how like they can take one image and the image is gigabytes in size. There was another story that talked about how the satellites on here are able to read the headlines off a newspaper in Central Park in New York. So,
and you're thinking, oh, these little like those little Starlink guys, little adorable guys. No, this one's 8 tons. How much is it per ton to get into space?
An insanely huge amount of money.
Tax dollars at work. You can't hide from it.
This is just what's declassified. Can you imagine what's classified? I mean, well, the article talks a little bit about how we can actually deduce that classified satellites are going up, which I thought was kind of funny, because all of the infrastructure and support for that is not classified. So you can see the aircraft launching and it's like, oh, this aircraft isn't on a list of other aircraft. Ergo, it's got a classified mission.
That's how they found those concentration camps.
Yeah.
Like they went to the satellite map. What's China's version of
Baidu?
I think it's Baidu, yeah. And they were like, oh, let's just cross-reference all the black squares with our version of the map. Yep, there they are. They're the concentration camps.
They were able to figure out the internal layout of the buildings too, because they were taking satellite images as they were being built, so they could see the internal wall layouts. So a lot of tiny claustrophobic cells and corridors.
It's like, oh, there's the castration room.
Yeah.
You know how like here that they're getting rid of they're taking prisoners out of jail if they can because of the Rona. Do you think that that's happening over there?
No.
No.
It's like, oh, it's too many people to house here. Like, we're just going to release some of you.
No, some of these news websites would have you believe that, oh, there's too many people here. Let's harvest some organs.
Oh, yeah.
Although, do you think they're kind of putting themselves in a bit of a pickle? Because on one hand, if they all were to be wiped out by disease, no big loss. But on the other hand, now they're producing items.
It's the U.S. paradox. It's like, we can't let people out of prison. They're too valuable.
Are we the baddies?
How do we fix this? And it's like, oh, when they get out of prison, make it a situation where they have to pay to stay out of prison, but they can't get a job because they just got out of prison. Then they'll come back to prison.
You're making fun of the U.S. right there.
Yeah, no, I'm talking about I don't know how China does it. How China just, whip you up off the street, throw you back in. I don't think they make the pretense. New Zealand had a little bit of an issue with their stock exchange this week.
New Zealand stock exchange halted by cyber attack. At first, it was just a half an hour, and then they were able to get it back online, and then there was another outage. But it wasn't really. It was not as disruptive as you would think, but at the same time, the attackers will be emboldened. They'll return, and in greater numbers.
But they didn't make any demands. What do you think the end game is there?
Just to see how good the DDoS worked. It's like, oh yeah.
Was that like they were brokering a big deal for the DDoS site, and they were like, well, we need to see what this can do.
Yeah.
They're like, well, pay attention to the New Zealand headlines in the next couple of days.
Yeah. It's like, these droids are super valuable. We need to all get back out there and capture them.
The oh no. The African world is amazingly, they kind of have these developing economies, but then they introduced the mobile phone system, and so now I think probably Africa is one of the most mobile dependent nations on the earth at this point.
Yeah.
And it's weird because they buy data in chunks as they use it, which is kind of a cool way to do it, I guess. And they do payments on there, and like the WhatsApp, I think, is one of their biggest things that they use for communication. Their whole lives revolve around these phones, and the service isn't great, but they still, they're totally focused on it. And so some of the Chinese companies, they looked at that market and they said, they don't have much money, but what they do have, I bet we could take.
Chinese-made smartphones are secretly stealing money from people around the world. So I don't know. This article is like, China, but it really just seems like some entrepreneurial person that has access to cheap phone manufacturing. Yeah. So the firmware image with these is preloaded with malware, which there could be a relatively innocent explanation here, which is just the supply chain is corrupted. As somebody who's ordered stuff from China a lot, it's not unusual for the device to arrive with a corrupted or compromised or backdoored firmware in some way. Like ordering a credit card processor from overseas is like, oh, we've got this ancient point of sale system that needs the such and such module for credit card processing. There's going to be a lot of listings on eBay and Alibaba for exactly that thing. But if you order it, I guarantee it is compromised in some way.
So this is Transion? How do you pronounce that?
It's
got
no
two
idea.
S's.
I spent a long time trying to figure out how to pronounce that guy's name. Moxolosi? I'm not even going to try.
I
don't know.
So, amazingly enough, Transion, you've never heard of them? They're was it fourth or fifth? I think it's fourth biggest mobile phone seller in the world. And it's because they sell smartphones for $30 American.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
They're basically at a loss. And this is one of the, this is a microcosm of what is being argued against Huawei and some of the other companies. It's like these Chinese companies are basically doing this not for capitalistic reasons. They're not doing this to earn a profit. They're doing this to be in a strategic position in terms of infrastructure. And so this company is doing it to be in a strategic position in terms of data gathering and being able to exploit that. Because this talks about how the software company the security software company that was consulted on that said, oh yeah, it's like 91% of the transactions that are fraudulent come from these phones because they're already rooted and have malware.
So this guy, obviously if you're paying per megabyte for your data, he noticed that a lot of data was being used while he was sleeping. And not only that, he was getting notifications that was like, thank you for signing up for this paid subscription app. And he was like, I didn't sign up for that. Oh wait, yes he did. Or at least the phone did on his behalf. And he ended up losing a lot more than $30 to the phone before he rid himself of it.
It's the click farm stuff. This is also a problem for Google because you can launder money through Google ad services, for example, with stuff like this. So if you've got a huge farm of these rooted phones and somebody wants to, run some AdSense ads or whatever on Google, they could use their network of rooted phones in Africa or whatever to click your ads, and then Google will happily pay them. And it's not something that Google has been super in a hurry to fix either, because Google still gets paid from advertisers. It's only just now that advertisers are sort of warming up to this game, and in developing nations, a lot of advertisers aren't hip to that game yet. So,
well, the hot new movie Tenet released this week.
Didn't even know that.
Did anyone know that? Yeah.
Yeah, the audience is like, "Wow, I missed it." No, not in the U.S.
I'm abandoning the Level 1 news right now so I can go watch it. I'm not even going to finish.
Didn't release in the U.S. I guess the things are a little too hot here still for that, so they're waiting a little bit. But in a lot of the other parts of the world, it did release, and a bold move, because copies are going to get out, but they're doing everything they can, and apparently they didn't do this. Although I don't know that I trust that, they being the major motion picture companies.
Studio, yeah.
I don't know that I don't. They might just be saying, "Oh, well, yeah, we've been following that too." Weird, huh?
Thousands of pirates tricked into downloading fake Tenet torrents. So Torrent Freak talks about how all of the torrents are fake, but Warner Brothers is still sending takedown notices to try to take it down. So,
because it's all automated.
Yeah, we should send Warner Brothers an invoice and be like protecting the movie from downloading by, fake whatever, and just see, just see.
So it's an interesting way that they do these. You would think it's just malware or whatever, but it's actually not. It's a video file that shows you this message, and it's literally just a video of this. Like 2 hours of this, or however long the movie is. And then when you go and follow the link in the README, they will try to sell you stuff. The codec will never work because there is no film. That's probably where the malware comes in.
Yeah.
Plus, they'll steal your credit card. So watch out for that, and don't do that. 700 megabyte. Wow, they really lowballed it, didn't they?
Yeah. Don't try to pirate movies online. This is crazy.
At least don't do it on peer-to-peer. And as our cities are burning and the political process is breaking down and hurricanes are lashing the coasts and, that pandemic, God bless the people in law enforcement. They are doing the stuff that matters. The things that are important. Number one on the list.
U.S. indictments and raids of piracy group members in The Scene throw top-tier piracy world into chaos. Most of these raids were in the Netherlands and Sweden, I think was what it said. So
Norway and Sweden.
A lot of people involved with piracy have been arrested and or servers seized and shut down. So this is a coordinated effort, an international interdisciplinary team. I wonder when they're going to make a Bond film about the people that took down international piracy.
I'm going to sleep so much better tonight.
Yeah.
Knowing that problem has been solved.
Yeah, definitely won't, have anxious, weird dreams now that I know that this has been taken care of.
Google really enjoys your location data. Really enjoys it. And they've gotten some criticism for that. And so, this past year, couple years, they've said, we're going to give more control to the user. We're going to let you delete some stuff that we store. We're going to let you say no to us. And really, we never had any bad intentions when we were doing that. Now, they still got sued for that. And when someone gets sued, a magical thing happens. Documents come out in court. And oh boy, are they interesting.
Unredacted suit shows Google's own engineers are confused by privacy settings. Users would make a change, but it was quote-unquote so difficult that people wouldn't actually make the change, one employee wrote.
They have a couple more great quotes here.
The current UI feels like it is designed to make things possible, yet difficult enough that people won't figure it out. Some people, including even Googlers, don't know that there's a global switch and a per-device switch. Indeed, we aren't very good at explaining this to users. Add me to the list of Googlers who didn't understand how this worked and was surprised when I read the article, they're talking about the AP article, which we'll talk about in a minute, that we shipped a UI that confuses users. And finally, I agree with the article. Location off should mean location off, not except for this one case or this case or that other case.
So yeah, there was an article that pointed out all these things, and this goes on to explain from the court case how it was DEFCON 1 at Google as soon as that happened. And they began to have daily meetings and to just pinpoint accuracy track the level of engagement of the internet with these articles. And they figured out after like 10 days, they're like, oh, it's all good. Everybody's forgotten. Go back to tracking locations.
Yeah. This is also a good thing to point out for relatively minor conspiracies. Oh, it's a conspiracy inside Google. Everybody is aware to the extent that, they're tracking or whatever. They're really not. Like, if you look at it, there's a little bit of a placebo. There's a little bit of an assumption. Like, if you're a Googler and it's like, yeah, we did a thing to address that. That came up in meetings. I went to the meetings. It's totally fine. But then it never ends up being implemented exactly the way that was described in the meeting.
Well, these are presumably smart people, right? If you're a Google engineer should be a pretty smart person.
But they didn't figure it out until it was pointed out.
But those quotes... Yeah, what'd you say, Krista?
So have you seen Google Analytics? Have you tried using it?
Well, okay. Yeah, but that's an argument. But I'm saying, like, those quotes sound like they're drinking so much Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, there must be a mistake here.
I'm not the bad
Guys, something's wrong. We're tracking location no matter what.
I mean, I have been on projects that are really big and you have a lot of different people working on it. And so, like, I understand sometimes compromises are made and then, like, the UI can get a little weird because of that. But, like, how does Google mess up that bad, though?
Oh, this was absolutely
unless it's
malicious.
intentional.
Yeah, it was, but it wasn't a conspiracy among all those engineers. Was my point is that it was just one or two people that knew what was going on, and there was just enough subterfuge that everybody else didn't really know.
Yeah, they're just like, well, there's compromises that have to be made.
But how could you? I mean, there's a level of willful ignorance there.
Maybe if the Googlers that watch our program are tuned into that, maybe they will be more cognizant of that in the future.
Or they'll not say anything because they live in California where it's really expensive and they need that Google job to continue affording the cardboard box they live in.
Or Google will find out about that's happening on the campus and they will delete our channel.
One or the other.
So
Patreon and FlowPlay, please.
So yeah, we talked about this botnet before. There's a few more details here, but the point is, botnets are alive and well.
A new botnet is currently targeting millions of servers. So this botnet, it lives in memory. There's not really a lot of signs of infection. Just double check and make sure that your Linux machines are all up to date, and look for any unusual network traffic to and from your machine on the border if you possibly can.
And wow, you know what? I didn't mean to leave this as the last story. Usually I like to get something with a little punch to it as the last story, but I kind of like bubble sort my way down in terms of like, oh, this needs to go here. This is interesting. We can put this toward the end. And this was literally the least interesting thing on the docket today. Really kind of a non-story. Should have deleted it.
Zoom outage halts classes and meetings. This is just good old internet hiccup blip, like a routing issue. It wasn't even really Zoom's fault, but Zoom had an outage that lasted a few hours, and it was inconvenient for a few people enough that it made the headlines. Oh well, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
It's not allowed to happen. Not in this world. It's our only source of communication.
It's our only source of human contact. Well, we're here for you. You're watching this video, and it's just like you're here with us.
Krista, give us one more shot at that. There it is.
Beautiful pumpkin. Look at him. Glorious.
Oh, you know what? Let's also take a look at... now, here's an engagement challenge, chat. Before you...
oh, yeah, we were talking about this before we started.
Before you reveal... What am I doing? Oh, yeah, here we go.
Find the picture.
So, that thing on the right there. Pause the video after this and comment on what you think that vegetable is. It is a vegetable, I'll give you that much. The thing on the right.
It doesn't look like that.
Can I reveal what it is now if they've paused?
Yes, they should have paused at this point.
That is a cucumber. And every cucumber, we've only gotten 2 because I planted it in too small of a pot, but every cucumber we've gotten off that plant has been like very round and rotund. So I don't know what's up.
It's a mutant.
Yeah. I think it's just an unhealthy plant, but Ryan thinks it's not a cucumber.
It looks like a squash.
I haven't cut into it yet, so I don't know what it tastes like or anything. So
you're going to cut into it. It's just spiders are just going to spill out of it.
No! That's all. That's my fruits from the garden this week.
All right. It's looking
Delicious.
good. Are we going to dehydrate all those?
I don't know what we're gonna do with all that yet. I don't know. The tomatoes, we're getting so many tomatoes. Like, we're having to pick them every day. And at this point, we don't know what to do with them. There's too many. We only planted 4 plants.
That's enough to survive the year.
Yeah.
The week,
It's gonna be a fine eating winter.
How many calories is one of them? Like 30?
Yeah, probably not even that.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to next week's crop. You got anything on the horizon for next week coming in?
Just more tomatoes. Just constant tomato. We have a bunch of peppers growing too. We've got like probably 6 or 7 peppers on the plant right now.
All right. Well, tomorrow, I don't know what tomorrow's going to be. It's going to be business and something.
We'll see.
Business and existential dread. All right.
Yeah.
We'll see then. Chris is a little too close to you this week. Everybody's always angry when Chris is not centered.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's not you. It's your square. The table's been moved. All right. See you tomorrow.
Bye. Hello, everybody. Today is September 2nd of the longest year ever. And today we're doing social media and business.
Or March 187th.
Oh. It's getting cooler, finally. Thanks to the hurricanes.
That seems to happen like around this time of year. Every year. It's weird.
It's weird. It's wild how that happens.
No, I don't think there's any argument. Can there ever be any argument that USA is number one? You just can't objectively.
I don't know. Those people who used to play PUBG had some other ideas.
And certainly our power, which doesn't really seem to trickle down at all. But hey, that's okay, because that's what we're here for, is to make those people rich. It comes from our stock market, which dominates. And in fact, it's gotten so big that, it's like, how big is it? Well, we have to compare it to the other world stock markets. And it's really impressive.
CNBC is reporting that the U.S. tech stocks are now worth more than the entire European stock market. This is a turnaround from 2007, when the European market was 4 times larger than the U.S. tech market in 2007, according to the note. So apparently Apple being worth $2 trillion, some other companies that have gone up in value a lot.
I'm not concerned at all that they might be overvalued.
Not at all. Definitely not a crash imminent.
I don't think... you remember that time that the housing market crashed and everyone lost everything?
Oh, that was ages ago. Like, what, 10 years ago?
I don't think that...
That's a myth. We've never been at war in East Asia.
If that were to happen again, during a time when no one has a job, and we've all tapped our savings just to survive, I don't think anything bad will happen.
That's a fair assessment.
But the tech stocks are dominant, and it's amazing if you would go back 10 years and tell yourself, hey, these oil companies, and you're like, oh yeah, the ones that are waging wars around the globe to ensure their dominance into the future, and it's like, yes, those ones. The ones whose hands are covered in blood. And you're like, oh, wait, no. Do you mean the ones that literally poisoned the Gulf of Mexico? Yeah, that's the ones we're talking about. When we get to 2020, they're going to be going broke. You wouldn't believe it, but here we are.
Exxon Mobil, replaced by a software stock after 92 years on the Dow, is quote-unquote a sign of the times. It's another CNBC article. So, yeah, Exxon Mobil's been in the Dow in some form since 1928. But that's come to an end. The S&P Dow Jones indices announced the latest changes in the 30 stock benchmark in 7 years.
Here's the ultimate insult. Salesforce. Oh my God, what a terrible product.
People just don't understand.
So yeah, that's not the only one. They also got rid of Raytheon. Oh, there's another sign of the times, huh? All of a sudden missiles aren't selling? And Pfizer, which is weird because you think that the drug companies would be shining now.
Is that what happened with because the FedEx thing shut down because somebody tried to ship a missile? Is that Amazon getting into Raytheon's business?
I think that was I think that missile was from like Vietnam or something. So it turns out, and I didn't even realize it reading them, but when I was just sorting them, I was like, wow, like 80% of these articles are about Apple and Amazon. So buckle up for an Apple and Amazon block.
It's the Sears and Roebuck of our time.
We'll start up with, it kind of points out the power of the tech companies, although this is a tech show. But we'll start out with the old Epic Store war front. It rages on. And unsurprisingly, they have finally, pulled the trigger. It is no more.
Apple has now terminated Epic's App Store account following a legal dispute between the two companies. Now, you might recall from last week that Epic got a temporary restraining order against Apple for terminating its account, but it's not its games account. It was its Unreal Engine account. So Apple was moving to give all of the Epic Enterprise the death penalty on the App Store. And the judge said, well, you can just roll back this change, and then you can go back into the App Store while we sort this out in court, because you did this. This is a calculated move, but I don't think Apple should remove the developer account that has to do with the Unreal Engine, because that's not Epic Games. And also, Apple is now sort of tactfully promoting PUBG instead of Fortnite on the mobile platform. So,
which is Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go. It's just it's going to keep escalating. We'll see who wins. The other front that Apple currently has open right now is with the other big tech companies who kind of all, I think they're getting a whiff of blood in the water and they're going for it. And Mr. Zuckerberg is on the forefront of that.
Mark Zuckerberg has said that Apple has a quote-unquote stranglehold on your iPhone. At a company-wide meeting, the Facebook CEO also said that President Trump brought up China during an October dinner at the White House. So he's talking about applications and control and the whole privacy thing and the advertiser ID thing. So Facebook can't... Facebook's not in the driver's seat when it comes to what exactly its application is doing in terms of identity tracking and tracking your activity on the phone. And as we've seen from Facebook's ventures with Anavo, is that how it was pronounced?
Mm-hmm.
Their VPN service. They want to track everything, literally everything. And they're just not happy unless they can do that. And they can't on the Apple platform.
Yeah, this is definitely not Mr. Zuckerberg just suddenly wanting to be a man of the people and speak out against the terribleness of them. Apple has done a couple of things that he does not like. Certainly first on the list is, like, hey, we're going to beef up security against tracking. And it's like, wait a minute, that's our business model. But Facebook is also embroiled in the old App Store war.
Apple blocks Facebook update that called out the 30% Apple App Store tax. So this was if you're doing a transaction in Facebook, it had a line item that was Apple's 30%. And that's what it was labeled as. And it was just like, oh, yeah, no, we can't. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, so they literally put Apple's name in it there. And Apple was like, I don't think so. So they softened it here on the other one. I mean, it is true that Apple takes a cut.
I think that if Apple offered some avenue of side-loading applications, they would be in the clear legally. But I really think that all of this runs afoul of existing consumer right to repair laws, because auto companies try to do basically the same thing before the computer was a thing, and it did not work out for them in the end. It took 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, but in the end it didn't work out.
So we only have to wait another 20, 30, 40 years before this gets resolved.
Yeah. It's like, you don't own your device. It's like, I want to load this application on my device. I don't care if it comes from the Apple App Store. Like, if the fee for participating in the Apple App Store is 30%, fine. Let me load it another way.
So, Apple, if you are Apple and you're suddenly worth $2 trillion, what do? Do you sit back, maybe take a little vacation, go to the beach, enjoy yourself, just reap some of those beautiful rewards? No. When you're ahead, you get more ahead, and you spend that money to crush your competition. And it seems like, no confirmation here from Apple, but it seems like they might be getting into a new hotly contested part of the tech world.
Apple showing signs it may soon launch a search engine to compete against Google search. So people were noticing that they're seeing a lot of activity on their websites from Applebot. Is Apple going to launch a search engine? We'll see.
Boy, if if you want to talk about Facebook getting hit by losing ad dollars, Google would lose, and Apple pays Google like literally just directly. I mean, Google pays Apple directly. It's like, hey, the iPhone search is Google search. Here's $1 billion, and Apple's like, okay, all right, for now. But we'll see. And maybe a small bit of they take most of it away. But sometimes when they are so in the wrong, when it is so black and white that what they did was awful, and they get enough feedback from the universe that they are monsters, they're like, all right, we shouldn't have done that one. We shouldn't have burned that baby at the stake. Sorry.
Apple apologizes to WordPress and won't force the free app to add purchases after all. So they sent WordPress our automatic an apology. Apparently, this happened. This played out in the press too. Like Matt Mullenweg, the guy that founded Automatic, the guy that originally did WordPress, was completely clueless until I guess The Verge or whoever contacted him. I was like, "Hey, Apple's on the record with an apology," and he's like, "Do what now?" And yeah, so he had no idea until The Verge contacted him, and Apple was like, "Oh, we didn't. There was a miscommunication. That wasn't what we meant at all. It's fine. You can totally relaunch the application, and it can be completely free. It's totally okay." There were comments in that story though from some other small developer that was forced into the same thing. I wonder if it's okay for them now too, or if it's just the squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Now the Apple's press release was like, "Oh, they made the change to remove purchasing things on their website from the app, so it's actually okay. Sorry, we didn't notice that." And it makes it sound like they did that after all this happened. But no, the WordPress guy pointed out, we did that months ago.
Yeah.
The first time that you ever pointed it out, we just took it out. That was way before you banned us.
And the article author, he knew somebody that had a really old version of that app installed, and they went back and looked at it and were like, So
now onto the Amazon block. And first we will look at some of the people who use Amazon, maybe not because they want to, but because, society has moved on from them. Well, now they're suddenly taking a stand again. And maybe it's because the whole world that we're living in now has created not so much an opportunity, but it's destroyed those sales as well. So like, well, since it's not working now, maybe we just stop doing it altogether. I don't know. We're an anachronism.
Powell says that it won't sell books on Amazon anymore. We must take a stand. So Powell's is a huge bookstore out in the Portland area, I think. Portland, Seattle. And
I didn't recognize it at first.
They have multiple.
The article's kind of long. It talks, it's like, hey, the bookstore is a really important part of the local community. And the fact that people try to find stuff in our bookstores means the other smaller bookstores that are even more niche and specialty can survive because they come to our bookstore looking for something. And then maybe they go to an even more niche neighborhood bookstore. And this is a much better situation than just, facelessly having books online. So we've got to stop selling on Amazon.
Except they sell books online.
Yeah. Well, currently they do.
Oh, they're not going to stop that. They can't stop that and survive. They might not even survive this. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to a bookstore.
I've never been there that I can remember.
I used to love going to bookstores, but now I'm just going to get it online.
We had one here in our town for a long time, and I used to go there pretty often, but like a lot of times I would go in there and like I would get a coffee and I would browse, but like I would never buy a book, and I think that's pretty much what everyone did. They'd get a coffee, they'd browse, they might buy a magazine, but they didn't actually buy books there.
Books are, there's so many books, and so many of them are just hot trash.
Yeah.
Browsing books is kind of a waste of time, unless you got time to kill.
I feel like I want books on topics that are already really niche, like we were talking about, that like most bookstores aren't going to carry it. I'm going to have to order it online anyway.
Yeah, and, that weren't printed in the last 6 months.
Yeah.
Because how much can you really stock? Just doesn't make sense.
I always enjoyed like going around, like visiting with like a college professor who's got like a bunch of books in his office, that was a way better experience because it's like, oh, this book is amazing. Oh, this other book is amazing. Oh, this one's not very good.
It's like it's already curated to your interests.
Yeah, I was like, this is awesome.
That's probably a business idea, right? Like curators for books.
Those websites like Goodreads.
Oh yeah.
What's the other one? But it's crowdsourced, and you get like, like the people on the Linux channel. That's who goes there. So you don't want to be a part of it. So Amazon they conquered the world of books, and then they went on and conquered the rest of the world, and now they are branching another tentacle into the world of grocery. No, not Whole Foods, not that. A new fresh tentacle, a fresh tendril into our hearts.
Amazon opens its first Amazon Fresh physical grocery store in LA. You may be wondering, what's the difference between Amazon Fresh and Whole Foods? Well, Whole Foods prides itself on clean, sustainable, awesome. Amazon Fresh is more like bulk
we'll buy
groceries.
this from the lowest middle.
It's Walmart. Yeah. It's Walmart. Yeah. That's what it is. It's probably a couple of steps up from Walmart, but that's the crowd they're looking to get. And it doesn't have like the automatic checkout thing like the Go, although they do have a feature that I think is amazing. So I don't like doing the order online. I don't want somebody else picking up my groceries. But at Amazon Fresh, you can build your shopping list on the website, and the carts are smart carts, and they'll take you right to it.
It does the traveling salesperson solution where it's like, here's the most optimal path through the grocery store to get you your stuff. That would be pretty awesome.
Do you think that it can like use the internal cameras and it's like, oh, there's an old lady who's been picking a can of peas for 30 minutes on aisle 6, route around it?
That would be incredible.
But it does look cool. Unfortunately, it's only on the West Coast, and we won't see them for quite some time.
Although they are going to try to make Whole Foods like Amazon Go in the next year, they said.
The cashierless thing.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting. And again, not just groceries and not just everything else online and books. They are trying to conquer another part of the tech world. Although their version of this is a little scaled back. I think this is a little more normie.
Yeah.
But still amazingly invasive. So invasive.
The Verge's headline is Amazon announces Halo, a fitness band and app that scans your body and voice. My headline would be Amazon announces Halo, a new product that's going to upload your nudes directly to Jeff Bezos.
And is always listening by design. Not just to you. It doesn't matter if you have a Halo. Does the person shopping next to you have a Halo? Then guess what? Halo's listening to you. Now, the two big features are this terrifying thing where you let it take pictures. They got a video here. Here we go. This young lady. So you take pictures from every side, and it's like, this is how fat you are. And there's a slider, so you can see what you'd look like if you weren't so fat.
Oh.
And the voice analysis at the end of the day is going to be like, oh, you're a little angry there around commute time. Calm it down. And then it's going to track your steps and your blood pressure and stuff like that, heart rate. And at the end of the day, you get yourself a nice little circle graph score.
If you're not allowed to be angry, doesn't that eventually cause you to have a psychotic break, like going postal?
Or your score is going to suck the day you go postal.
You just let it build up.
Everything about this seems like a bad idea, but I know that people will love it.
Yeah.
And they will get them.
I got all these online achievements. I get free Prime shipping on my next order.
They were very careful to be like, this is not Amazon Prime. I don't know why, though. Why not tie them together? You ever seen that?
That's a feature they'll do as like a subscription service eventually. Like, tie it into the rest of your Amazon stuff. Get rewards for working out.
No, that's what made me think of it. There's a machine, I think it's Germany maybe, where the subway, if you do 30 squats in front of a camera, you ride for free.
I was thinking a much more dark thing. It's like the little dinger goes off at like 7 a.m. and it's like, good news, your package is here. And it's like, oh, that Amazon Prime delivery is early. And it's like, no, you're gonna have to jog a 5K to the pickup locker to get your stuff. What?
The delivery driver.
You're too fat to get your packages at your door.
the delivery driver comes out in like full boxing pads. You got to fight him for it. If you can get it away from him, shipping is free. Otherwise, you'll be billed. And Amazon, they have conquered the online world. And of course, now they're going for the physical locations. They might be buying JCPenney and Sears to further. But one continent is not enough for them. They must move into other ones.
In South India, Amazon builds its largest office yet. So, Hyderabad? I don't know if I'm saying that correctly.
I can't.
But yeah, Amazon is building its largest office there. They're going to be doing everything there. Literally everything.
India has not been super welcoming for Amazon. I guess this is a way to sort of ingratiate themselves. Creating jobs, like what, 3,000 jobs or something?
Yeah, it's like we've got all these local employees and blah, blah, blah.
Right now, they're mostly doing technical stuff, though. They're not like doing Amazon India stuff, but I'm sure the plan is
the long-term plan, yeah.
Yeah, to go for that.
Oh, I spoiled it.
Well, this was out of order. This should have sorted with the other one. But, yeah, this, not a surprise. I don't think anybody didn't see this coming after they bought Whole Foods.
Amazon Go's cashierless tech might come to Whole Foods as soon as next year. Amazon introduced its cashierless tech in 2016. I think the other article even mentioned this, but maybe it all just ran together. I don't know.
It probably did. So I was not familiar that people refer to Whole Foods as whole paycheck because it's expensive.
I didn't know that either. It is kind of true, though. It's very expensive.
Yeah.
It's a cool place, but
The local one has like the buffet, and that's one of the few places where like I can eat healthy and it's actually satisfying and filling.
How healthy is that stuff really, though?
I don't know. I guess not because it's satisfying and filling, but
Yeah.
they've convinced me that that's healthier than, the
It's
alternatives.
expensive.
some of it probably is.
Yeah.
Depends. Like if you're getting like, some sort of salad, I'm sure it is.
Yeah, but salads, the dressing can crank them up to like, insane numbers of calories and fat. I think the thing is like at McDonald's, and I know McDonald's is a far cry from Whole Foods, but at McDonald's, the salads are some of the highest fat content items you can buy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
It's expensive anymore too.
the last time I got a salad at McDonald's, it came with a hodl of ranch. So,
Yeah. Just drink that down.
yeah. The lettuce was a vehicle for enjoying ranch dressing directly.
And moving on to wait, no, this is still business. I'm sorry. So yeah, Tesla, they're doing well. They're selling a lot of cars, and it's not uncommon for cars to have extra features that are ridiculously priced. That's like add some carbon fiber to it. Oh, that's $20,000.
I saw a video on adding heated seats to a BMW, and it's like $500, and the BMW wants like $5,000 for that feature.
I was going to say there's no way it's $500, but you mean that's the actual cost of it? Yeah.
Actual cost of the
there's
person doing
there's a
it.
thing you can order online, and then you do a thing, and you pop something off, and you put it in, and it just clips in, and then you're good to go.
Yeah. So that's not uncommon. I mean, that's kind of like the bread and butter of the car world. But Tesla was the first company to figure out how to add DLC to your car. And it turns out that that's somewhat of a bad business model because it's already there. The technology is already in the car. You just have to have it turned on.
Tesla fights back against owners who are hacking their cars to unlock a performance boost. So I guess in the latest firmware update, it's looking to see if you've modified your car in some way, and then it pops up a message. Oh, you scroll past it.
I was looking for the device. They had a picture of the device, didn't they?
I don't know.
It's the little onboard diagnostic thing.
Oh, and incompatible vehicle modification detected. So this is the extra range hack and also the extra horsepower hack. So
I was almost sure they had a picture of that little thing.
I think what's going to happen is Tesla's going to get in trouble for this. I think there are specific laws for automobiles that make this type of thing illegal, but it's probably going to have to go all the way to the Supreme Court before we get anybody that understands it. The problem with it is that Tesla can't modify your vehicle after the fact.
I have one of those little things on mine to stop it from going into 4-cylinder mode, like the gas saving mode. And the company regularly has to like not recall them, but they put out a bulletin. They're like, all right, send it back in. We need to flash it. They've defeated it. Because the cars are over the air these days, which is disgusting. And Mr. Musk is not just busy with his car company. He also has this very ambitious company that had a big announcement this week. A lot of people were kind of expecting more, but for what it is impressive. I have to say, a little bit terrifying, but impressive.
Elon Musk shows Neuralink brain implant working in a pig. It's like a Fitbit for your skull. The SpaceX and Tesla leader says of Neuralink's brain-computer link technology. I saw, in the live stream, I saw Jim Keller and some other famous people in the audience that were sort of looking at this. But the implant actually puts a lot of really, really super tiny filaments in your brain. And the other part of this is that, well, there's another story that we've got that talks about the robot that installs this, but there's hundreds of little filaments that go into your brain to read your neurons, and then this goes in the hole that's created in your skull. So there's a little piece of electronics with a little charging coil and some other stuff there. And so this is the interface, the brain-computer interface.
I don't think that people will be lining up to get that.
Probably not.
No. And I don't know, because I don't know, I'm not a neuro person, but like, I feel like this can't be as close as they make it sound either. Like,
no, it's not right now.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of stuff that would have to happen before any of the things he talks about could even be a possibility.
But also, I think the issue here is, with technology and how fast it moves. I mean, think about if you had a 486 in your head.
Yeah.
And now we're where we are now. That's like, well, I guess another brain surgery won't hurt me. But
just
then
keep wiggling my brain around. It's
do
fine.
it every 2 years.
Yeah. Not good.
Yeah. And it's not just, it's like, oh, well, they'll just pop your little, unscrew your little cap there and put another processor in. It's like, yeah, but what about my filaments?
Yeah.
I'm running on, 1996 filaments.
They thought lead in gasoline was a good idea when I had my filaments installed.
I need throughput to run that new chip. And mine just ain't got it. So that's what would worry me most about that. Well, I mean, that and unnecessary brain surgery.
Elective brain surgery.
Moving on to the social media version, WeChat. If you don't know about WeChat, that's the Chinese version of like basically the social media that everybody in China uses. And we're finding out that, it's heavily censored. But some things that kind of make sense. It's like, okay, they're censoring that because they're protecting their political party. But this one is a little darker.
How WeChat censored the news about the thing that we find ourselves in. And
oh, you know what? I didn't even mean for that to be ironic. But you have to censor yourself.
Yeah.
It's the story about the... Oh. We're also living in a terrible place.
Yeah. So... it would basically just manipulate the conversation and or censor a lot of words so that people couldn't talk about certain things. Also, it would censor Biolab and stuff, which is not... that would seem to fuel the conspiracy theorist people, but I'm satisfied with our scientist explanation that no, they were not related. But preemptively, China wants to head off that conspiracy theory, so it's like, which
certainly doesn't look good.
It lends credence to the conspiracy theory, but it's like, are they filtering this because it's the truth, or are they filtering this because it's too obvious?
Or is our government saying that it's not what it was because they know damn well they're doing the same thing, and they can't let that. You can't
come out.
Let that idea even germinate at all.
Scary.
Facebook once again having problems with those SDKs. Gosh, they just can't get a handle on those rascally third parties and how they use the Facebook platform.
Facebook sues maker of advertising SDK for refusing to participate in an audit. Facebook also sued the operator of a website for selling Instagram followers, likes, and comments. So there's a company that makes an SDK that lets you have advertising services in your application. So if you're an application developer and you've got a really popular flashlight app, you could roll this SDK in and it'll give you some vehicles, some opportunities for doing advertising. The problem is that Facebook thinks that this SDK is collecting and storing information that it is not allowed to. And because this company would not participate in an audit, they've been sued.
that only Facebook is allowed to collect.
Yeah.
It's got a little bit of a feel of the old Apple situation, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
A smack of it.
And speaking of Apple, this was, Zuckerberg was mad about the App Store thing because, it's like, hey, we don't want our people to pay you and take that 30% and blah, blah, blah. But this is the big one. This is what's keeping him up at night. Because Apple, if you don't know, Apple and their latest version of iOS made some crazy security increases so that apps are blocked from doing a lot of things, nefarious things that Facebook's like to do. And every time they track something, a little bubble pops up and says, hey, did you realize that Facebook was doing this?
Or it's doing stuff in the background.
And Zuckerberg correctly surmises that would be bad.
Facebook warns advertisers on Apple privacy changes. Now, this is a follow-up to another article that we did with the same picture a couple of weeks ago. But they've sort of formally...
I forgive them for recycling this.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I wish they did have a date. I just didn't see it. I was like, man, is it the same article?
No, they added some more info about the specific kinds of limitations that they think advertisers are going to see. And so this is basically just a memo to Facebook advertisers. They're like, well, we're still going to let you advertise, but, as much fine-grained control as you have on our platform, you're not going to have on Apple.
Apple is pretty small market share, though. It's amazing how much money they have to be the percentage that they are.
Yeah.
It's like they're charging like 5 or 6 times the fair value of everything. Now, we talked about Oculus last week and how the name Oculus is kind of going away. Facebook seems to just say, hey, I made this. I didn't buy this. I made this. And the big Oculus conference is coming up. The big Oculus, what was it called? It was called, I can't remember.
It's probably not coming up.
Oculus Connect.
No.
Did you get your tickets for Oculus Connect?
I'll get some bad news for you. Facebook Connect is already a different something else.
Oh, let's scroll down.
No. Facebook has begun ghosting the Oculus moniker in its VR division. Company's annual VR-focused conference, dated September 16th, remove Oculus from the branding.
So now it's what? Facebook VR?
Yep.
Ouch. I bet the Oculus, the guys that invented Oculus, are just like angrily clutching $100 bills right now. It's like, oh,
they've already bought their bunkers.
I'm so mad about this.
Do you think the first feature that Facebook will introduce to the Facebook VR, will it be like you can get on your Facebook account and then you can have like virtual boxing matches with people you disagree with in the comments? That's what it should do.
You can simulate spitting on each other. And finally, I'm sorry, Krista, what was that?
I was just saying, man, imagine like walking in to your parents' living room and then they're just like faux spitting and like flailing around with things. It's like, what are they doing? It's like, oh, he's on Facebook right now.
Someone posted a Trump meme.
He's tearing it apart.
I really wanted to put it in the nonsense section, but there's a VR capture rig video that I saw. It was like Hatsune Miku and somebody else with the guitar, and it was 2 people, and somebody was really playing the guitar, but they had like the armbands and stuff on, and they had the VR character superimposed, and they were both like dancing and going crazy, and one of them was playing the guitar and the other one was dancing, and it was the Hatsune Miku like type character, anime type characters, and it was perfectly in sync. It was incredible. It was absolutely incredible. We'll probably cover that next week in the nonsense or something, but it's like the VR technology, if Facebook had that tomorrow, it would just be over.
So the TikTok thing, that's going, raging on. We got the lawsuit. We'll see what happens with that. But in the meantime, TikTok, the guy in charge just quit. He was like, I'm out. I had enough. And they've agreed, like, we don't want this anymore. Fine. If it's that big a deal, somebody should buy it. Seems like Microsoft wants it. Oracle is now in the running for whatever reason. And a name that you wouldn't expect to be in the social media field, but they think it's valuable.
Walmart. Walmart is teaming up with Microsoft on the TikTok bid. Walmart confirmed it's teaming up with Microsoft, and it's probably going to be a $20 to $30 billion deal. For TikTok? $20 to $30 billion?
I could see why Walmart would want this. They have don't they have that line of mobile phones too? Like,
Yeah, but this is going to go in front of the Walmart board of directors. And the oh, hey, fellow kids, here's Walmart. We're on TikTok. And that's going to kill TikTok.
Yeah.
That's the end of
yeah.
it.
This is going to be AT&T buys DirecTV all over again.
Well, I don't know. I mean, DirecTV is a terrible technology. TikTok is fine, but it's not going to be cool once Microsoft gets it.
Wait, didn't we have a story about that in the business section? About how AT&T is having some problems because of the mass exodus of customers, that they may have to sell direct, like the satellite TV stuff at a massive loss.
I think that was last week.
Oh, yeah. Well.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, the cord code is crushing it.
Oops.
But yeah, if you're, a young entrepreneur, I think the iron is hot right now. Start striking, because as soon as Walmart puts its evil corporate hands on TikTok, all the young users are going to pivot. And you want to be in place ready for that when that happens.
What if this just keeps happening? Like, these Chinese companies keep putting out like the hip new platforms, and
What
it's
do you
just
mean
a constant game of the U.S. trying to buy up.
But it hasn't stopped happening. Facebook, I mean, they pivoted from MySpace to Facebook, and from Facebook to Instagram, and then Snapchat was there for a while, and now it's TikTok. It never ends. It ends with the grave, like all things.
I hate it. Thanks, I hate it.
All right, what do we got Friday?
Fridays, what haven't we done yet? Did we do robot yet?
No robot.
It'll be robot nonsense.
Nice. See you Friday.
Bye.
And thanks again, Linode.
Hello, chat. September the 4th be with you. And we're here with robots and nonsense to get you through the end of the week.
Do you guys remember that time when there was a nation that was a world power? They had military control all over the world. And their leaders became hopelessly corrupt. And they had
Criminally insane.
And their policies got really crazy. And a couple of really bad natural disaster type things happened. And
Their cities were burning.
Yeah. I'm not talking about the U.S. No. Talking about Rome. But a lot of people like to draw comparisons, and that's kind of scary, isn't it? But anyway, people love Rome. They love studying it. And one guy was bored during the pandemic and had some AI and some artistic knowledge, and he did something very cool.
How a designer used AI and Photoshop to bring ancient Roman emperors back to life. I looked at the pictures. I thought the pictures were really awesome, but Krista, I feel like that you're probably the most qualified one to talk about this.
No, I think they look really good. I don't know how you could do this this well. I feel like this would take a lot of time, especially like the hair, to get that that level of detail and get the color just right.
He cheated a little bit, and it's kind of obvious. So you look at this first picture, right? The two heads. It's Augustus, I think. So if you look at Augustus, you're like, God, he looks familiar. Who does he look like? The answer is Daniel Craig.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of Daniel Craig mixed in with old Augustus here. That's one of the ways that he cheated a little bit. He used celebrity photos. It's like, hey, that guy looks a little bit like, whoever. And then he sprinkled a little bit of that into the old adversarial network.
Nice.
Still impressive, though.
Yeah.
And he's working his way through all of them based on these statues. And it looks pretty cool. He's selling he's selling posters of these guys. And he was like, I figured, a couple of people would buy these posters, and they're just perpetually sold out. People love them.
Nero
looks like he has a Kyle energy. Like he's ready to smash a monster and then put his fist through a wall.
Now, his eyes are so close together that it just screams homicidal rage.
Oh, well.
Yeah, that's a Kyle.
He didn't have a bit of that. We talked about the Neuralink thing earlier, and the pig, it's like, okay, look, we're reading the pig's thoughts. And it's like, well, how do we know what the pig is thinking? It's cool, yeah, but it's not ready yet. But when you look past the item itself and how limited its uses are right now, and you look at the installation process, that is impressive. It's actually amazing.
Take a closer look at Elon Musk's Neuralink surgical robot. Now, this is a design concept, sterile white and all this other kind of thing. And there's a chilling description in there about, it's like, this is sterilized, blah, blah, blah. But the little cavity, the little blue cavity thing, that's where you stick your head. And in the description there, it says, oh, don't worry, there's a disposable plastic bag that lines the head cavity there. And it's like, yeah, we're going to crack your head open like a melon. There's going to be some splatter.
Also, it's mint green, and somehow that's supposed to be more welcoming. Christy, do you feel like you would be more likely to jam your head into that mint green cavity there?
I assume they use the mint green because if they did blue, it would probably feel too cold. But the mint green has just enough warmth to it that, it's like, oh, I'm not sticking my head into,
a wood chipper.
Pressure, yeah.
I'm sure there will be quite a bit of warmth based on the RPM of that drill.
I think whenever you have like brain surgeries now or like biopsies and stuff, I think they numb you, but you have to be awake because they have to make sure that you're not.
Yeah, they're not
messing up a section of your brain.
Yeah, they ask you questions during that, which would be so annoying.
The other thing with this is that it uses AI to avoid blood vessels because everybody's surgery and like where the filaments are is going to be a little different from person to person. So this little thing images your brain while it goes.
It's obviously very automated because there's no way to stick your hands down in that little helmet there. That's just a robot poking leads into your brain.
Here's a question. Do you think they designed this for people with fat heads?
That's probably adjustable.
I have a much more terrifying thought. Is the AI that's piloting those little fibers the same AI that pilots Teslas because they don't always get that right with the autopilot?
It's raining outside and it just starts to shake and...
Yeah, that would suck.
Oh, it just went straight. It hit the broadside of a blood vessel. I don't understand.
What if your blood vessels was a little too white? It's bad at recognizing that color. Sorry. Everybody's shopping online these days. So what else do you have to do? Just shop online. Just spend what little money you have left so that you have nothing when the real darkness comes.
Or go further into debt banking on some sort of government bailout.
And you got to worry about those pesky fraudsters online. But Visa has a new robot to help us.
Visa unveils a more powerful AI tool that approves or denies credit card transactions. So this is optional for merchant banks. So normally it's up to the bank to approve or reject your transaction. But now, if the bank is not online to approve or reject your transaction, the AI can sort of roll its own and figure out if it should approve or reject that transaction when your bank is not available to make the call.
Do you think Visa is maybe thinking with a little bit of like forward looking a little bit here and thinking like, do we want the entire e-commerce system to shut down if, let's say, a data center were burned?
Yeah.
And the AI is not just looking through our purchases and judging us based on them. It's also looking to the stars.
Breakthrough AI identifies 50 new planets from old NASA data.
Let's look at them.
Is that really just a ploy to sell us more trading cards, though? Like that.
Refrigerator magnets.
These are all artists' renditions.
Look at them. Look at there's us.
Beautiful.
That one's big. That one's very blue. There's no context to these pictures. We're just, that one looks like the virus.
I was going to say it looks like the planet in Rick and Morty where it's screaming the whole time.
So yeah, there was some old data, and no one had ever caught that these were planets, and the AI went through, and there's like some things that you're looking through these weird telescopes, and they don't look as good as those pictures. Those are renderings. But it's like, hey, I'm not sure. This could be like just a weird light refraction on the telescope, whatever. The AI's like, nope, that's a planet. I bet my life on it. We did the story about this guy before. This guy invented some stuff, and honestly, I'm going to say it. He invented some stuff. I don't buy this at all. But he says, nope, it was the AI. The patent office said, don't waste our time with this nonsense. If you want to patent it, put your name on it. He's not having it.
This guy is suing the U.S. Patent Office for deciding an AI can't invent things. USPTO rejected 2 applications written by a creativity engine named Debus. So here's a lawsuit to recognize Debus.
So he says,
Oh, wait, continue.
Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, is this some sort of play to like make it so he can't ever lose the copyright, or like?
No, but he wouldn't own it. It's weird. He would benefit
Yeah.
more by saying he invented these things.
I'm confused. Yeah, like what's the point?
I don't know. Just get your name in the paper. He thinks that this is, like we're gonna hit that spot, that tipping point where AI is doing everything, and we need to prepare for that. Maybe so mega corporations can't claim everything that their AI does and thus own the world, Amazon style. That could make sense. That might actually have some merit to it.
Well, wasn't it the guy that invented the polio vaccine? He meant for it to be public domain, but somehow it's not. Or something like that.
I think that was, right? Wasn't that Jonas Salk?
Somebody invented a vaccine and they meant for it to be public, but then they died and the estate sold it.
We don't really use it anymore. I guess some parts of the world do. So maybe that's true. And the mask debate rages on. People really, really hate wearing masks, some of them. And I argue that we're never going to get through to that personality type, and we shouldn't try. The argument should instead be this. We must give them alternative reasons to wear a mask, and this is a great one.
Facial recognition designed to detect around face masks is failing, study finds. Every algorithm saw increases in error rates once masks came into the picture. So, yeah, it's like something. They won't take my freedoms. It's like, great, wear your mask because they can't automatically categorize and catalog you.
People in Hong Kong are dying to wear masks. Literally.
They're just ripping down the phone poles at this point with the cameras on them.
Nah, not anymore. I think they've curbed
some
that.
People were, and then they were made an example of.
Yeah, and their families. They're off. They're probably some of the few non-Muslims in those concentration camps.
One system, one people, two systems. It's more like one people, 1 1/4 systems at this point.
Drones are fun and exciting, and you can do, maybe you can use them to explore the world that you can no longer explore because it's, dangerous for 100 different reasons. But don't you dare go near an airport. They're not having it.
The FAA is going to test a drone detection system in airports this year. It's going to evaluate at least 10 systems across several airports in the U.S.
Yeah. I imagine a drone going into a, turboprop cause some issues.
I can't wait for the DJI Sparrow, which is literally an animatronic sparrow drone. It's like, that's just a bird. It's like, is it a robotic bird? I don't know. I'm getting a weird energy signature.
I don't think they have that kind of diagnostic.
They just changed all the batteries on the birds. That's why we had to do the lockdown. Everyone knows it. Come on.
How long does that process take? Are we almost done? I'll help.
Apparently ages.
Send me some batteries. I'll do the ones out by my house. Daylight savings time is stupid, and I hate it. I love it in the fall, but it's not worth the price. The price is too high, and I totally agree with this.
Ditch daylight savings time, urges the American Academy of Sleep Medicine. Maybe screwing with our circadian rhythms is not such a great idea. So they talk about how evolutionary biology sort of doesn't like the whole let's change this twice a year thing.
Yeah, that's a rough day.
It's like a rough week.
Yeah, that's true. There's no reason for it. You know who adjusts incredibly well to daylight savings? My cats. Because I thought, you know what? They'll start meowing later because they won't know. But they knew. This, I have to admit, I have no interest in Microsoft Flight Simulator. That's just not my kind of game. And maybe I should not think that way. Maybe I should go get the flight stick out of my office and try it because it is free on the Xbox thing. But this really impressed me. I did not realize that we were at this level of simulation right now.
Yeah.
Microsoft Flight Simulator players are flying into Hurricane Laura. So Microsoft partnered with a weather company to simulate the world's weather in real time in Flight Sim. And so you can fly into the hurricane and see what happens.
And it looks pretty cool. The thing that really impressed me here about this game, though, is not that you could fly into the hurricane, which is cool. And not that it tracks the hurricane in real time, which is cool. But some people tried to fly over the hurricane, and the simulation was so good, their wings iced up.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And
There were also unrelated. There were a lot of live streams of Hurricane Laura on YouTube. I watched a few, and some of them were just like random dudes, just live streaming.
yeah, I like that. I like that we live in a world now where it's just random dudes showing you the world. You don't have that
Yeah.
spin necessarily. That's good.
It was
No,
crazy.
No, the spin is still there, and if anything, it is more desperate to be relevant, and so it's perhaps worse in some ways.
Well, some of them have an agenda, sure, but if you watch like 5 of them, you should get a sampling.
Roughly what's going on for real.
Yeah.
So you can see all the blips here. Another fun thing they did in Microsoft Flight Simulator is apparently Epstein Island is a big destination. People meet up
I saw
there.
that.
So
God bless the internet.
I'm going to Epstein Island, not unironically. Wait, what? No, now you're on a list.
No, virtually. I'm just going virtually.
And here's a crazy headline, and I still don't understand what his thing is. Do you?
Nope. No clue.
Krista, maybe you know. You're hipper than us.
What do you mean? What is his thing?
We'll read the headline.
Kanye West accused of plundering trade secret tech to fund his internet church.
What is the internet church?
I don't know anything about this. He last year, like fall last year, he released an album which was garbage. And Kanye is a crazy person, but he does make some interesting music, but the last album was not great.
It was
But
the one with Jesus in the title, right?
Yeah, it was weird. Yeah, Jesus is King. It was like a weird gospel album, but it wasn't like he usually does some pretty interesting things, but it was very bland and kind of a strange album. So I don't know if he's religious now or if this is some sort of weird pandering or he's trying to start a cult around himself.
Yes, and yes.
But,
Trying to pull off the L. Ron Hubbard
I don't know what
thing.
his thing is now.
Well, it says he's making $1 million a day of whatever this is. So whatever it is, it's working. How about Shoshana Wodinsky? Cheeky little tag here. Cancel culture with K's. So yeah, this story is about he partnered up with a development company, and they kind of point out all these crazy things that he demanded. Like he demanded that they hire certain people. He demanded that they move their offices closer to him, and they sunk millions and millions of dollars in developing this thing. And he was like, "Oh yeah, listen, I'm literally a billionaire. I'm going to give you $10 million once all this is ready." And they're like, "Okay, we're putting all our eggs in the Kanye basket." He walked away. And then he put out his church thing, and it was exactly what they built. Ouch. I don't think Jesus would approve of that.
No.
I don't. I'm not going to pretend to know much about Jesus, but from what I've heard,
That would not be on the
it doesn't
approved
seem
list.
like his kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't feel like anything about this is genuine. Like I don't think that he genuinely converted. I think this is all just a money-making scheme.
Oh, I'm sure he's, that's very common for that culture to be very religious. Not in terms of their actions, but, talking about it. Like most people who are religious.
You think, so I know he quote unquote ran for president, but not really. Do you think he's just aiming to become part of Trump's administration if he gets a second term? Like what's the end game? I don't know.
Trump cannot put him in the White House. That's too far.
But, I mean, half the speakers that his thing were his own family, so why not? Why not Kanye West? We're living in the weirdest timeline.
He can't do that. I can't accept that. Let's not even talk about that.
Just by speaking it, we've made it come into being.
I'm just going to concentrate harder on playing with my plumbing fitting now.
People love that. So this is just an insane story, and again, it's you can't even get your mind around how stupid this is, and yet it's gone on for years, and no one noticed, and no one cared. That's the saddest thing.
Most of Scottish Wikipedia is written by an American in mangled English. Scots is actually an official language of Scotland, An administrator of the Scots Wikipedia page is an American who doesn't speak Scots, but simply tries to write in a Scottish accent.
Okay, so I've always been very angry and hateful toward the people who write tweets to make the tweets sound like they're speaking in an accent. Are they actually using Scots? I think they're doing what this person did, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Which I hate.
It's not real. It's not real.
It's stupid. Don't do that. I mean, I know people love it, but it just drives me crazy.
The article goes out of its way to be like, or the guy who complained was like, I'm not trying to be gatekeeping here, but I looked into this and it's not looking good. Since 2013, a self-professed Christian int P furry.
What is int P?
That is the Myers-Briggs personality thing.
Yeah.
Like the personality classifier thing.
Oh, okay.
Living somewhere in North Carolina, has simply written articles that were written in English riddled with misspellings that mimic a spoken Scottish accent. Many of the articles were written blah, blah, blah.
I'm sorry.
That's fine.
They got an example that we have to see here.
Yeah.
Which is Bitcoin, for example.
Peer-to-peer payment session introduced as open source software. System.
Peer-to-peer payment system introduced
Peer-to-peer
software 2009 by developer. It's hard to how do you transliterate a Scottish accent?
So they pointed out that what you do, and the volume that this person produced is staggering. The entire Scottish Wikipedia is this same person. Wow. So they pointed out what they did. There are online tools to translate common words into Scots. So they ran it through that, and then just copy pasted. So the word like developer, for example, doesn't have a Scots version in that translator. Just leave it as English. Why not? But yeah, they said they weren't trying to do anything wrong. They thought they were helping. What does NP stand for? Is that basically?
It's introvert. I forget what the N stands for. Introvert thinking. I don't know what the P stands for. I am INFJ. I took that quiz a couple years ago.
Well, I think this person has been misdiagnosed. I think they are very mentally challenged.
A lot of
It's not a medical diagnosis. It's a personality test.
Then why would you label them as that? What does that even mean?
They do it to try to help you get along better with other people in a business setting, so you can just be like, oh, that person.
You know what invalidates that? When you put furry at the end of it. That's ridiculous.
Does that come up on a lot of conference calls, you think?
So here's the question that they pose, and this is an excellent question. Do you remove everything that this person has done? If you do remove everything this person has done, you will be going back to a version of that Wikipedia from 2012.
I think you'd either have to maybe not even remove everything all at once, but go through and re-edit it. You would have to.
But who's going to do it? Apparently no one cares about this Wikipedia. I mean, they didn't catch it.
This is a reoccurring issue, I think, with smaller languages. I've heard about this for Icelandic. There's a lot of words that don't exist in Icelandic, so then when they try to translate them for textbooks or Wikipedia articles and stuff, they have to use the English, and it's slowly eroding away the use of these smaller languages. And there's no answer for it yet. They're we don't know what to do, other than try to get students more interested in learning small native languages like that. It's sad, but maybe just the way it works.
Literally everything about that was sad. I'm sad for having talked about it. Now, Zoom, almost every week. Have we missed a week since the last 2 months?
No.
There is an embarrassing Zoom moment every week. There was the guy that showered. There was a woman that showered. What was the other one? They all involve nudity. And this week is no exception.
Philippines government official caught having sex during a Zoom meeting. They've got a tiny little thumbnail there somewhere.
Oh no, it's making noise.
It does. It plays music.
There we go. There he is, and there's his secretary.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Oh, well.
So they finished up quickly, and he returned to the meeting as if nothing happened. And they finished the meeting, and I don't think that he realized until after.
And no one said anything during the meeting?
Probably didn't notice.
They were very professional. But someone did notice later, and he will be losing his job.
Oops.
No word on the secretary. The replacement might be like, no, let's keep that secretary. Did you guys know what a beefalo was?
No.
Kristen?
At first I thought a don't starve, remember?
Yeah, but I didn't. I had no idea that might be a real thing.
Apparently it is, yeah. I guess it's a cross between like a cow and a buffalo.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's
Today.
That's something we shouldn't have done. Anyway, there's one out in the wild and it's mad.
Highly aggressive beefalo that escaped a meat processing plant on the loose in Plymouth. Do you think it had a little bit of an introspection and it saw what was happening at the meat processing plant and it's like, I've got to go. And that's why it's highly aggressive?
It saw a buffalo being slaughtered and then it saw a cow being slaughtered and it was like, what am I?
Don't starve. If we learn anything, they're usually only aggressive when they have red butts and they're ready to mate.
Well, this one's like fiery, like molten
Bright
red,
butt.
and he's just terrorizing. So they pointed out they sent the cops out, but they didn't really have a plan. And the cops found him, and he was like scratching at the dirt, and they were like, "All right, bro, you do your thing." So how do you catch a beefalo on the loose?
Trank darts.
It's gonna ruin
I would
the
think,
meat.
but
Here's another story that we have every week. Not every week, but it's getting more and more
pretty
common.
often.
And you can't blame the technology here. These are just idiots. And I don't think this is going to stop, unfortunately. How do you stop this?
No. Tesla with autopilot hits a cop car, and the driver admits he was watching a movie. So he was cited for losing control of his vehicle and having a television in the car.
Oh, that looks like a lot of damage.
No one was seriously hurt, but a few people were hurt. Hurt a little bit.
I think
Just a little hurt.
the stuff in the front door there, that'll buff out. But the rear, I don't know. It's going to cost somebody.
Yeah.
He has been arrested and charged with reckless driving or something like that. If he'd killed those cops, oh boy.
Yeah.
He'd be autopiloting his way into federal prison, I think.
Yeah, they were stopped in the road. He was supposed to drive around them, but the Tesla autopilot just plowed right into them.
The emergency workers are a little bit cavalier about blocking that lane.
Yeah.
There was another wreck, though, so they might have been trying to stop cars from going into the debris and stuff, which would make sense. There's there are cops who, it's a cop versus firefighter, and they want the firefighters and ambulances to pull all the way off the road, and they don't, and they try to write them tickets and stuff. I saw a story about that, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, that's sort of nuts.
Penguins. Krista, have you seen Pingu? Seems like your kind of movie.
No, I've seen the memes of it.
Yeah, I've not seen it either. I really don't know what it's about, but thank God we have it.
Penguin watching Pingu so he doesn't get lonely. So this is a BBC News article about a real penguin watching Pingu so that he can see that there are other penguins there. He's watching it on an iPad.
There's Pingu. And, Twitter. I didn't want to go to your website.
Too late.
Yeah, this guy is.
They say he doesn't realize that Pingu's a penguin. He just likes the flashing colors.
I don't think that they know that. Oops.
That's what the biologist said.
No.
What'd you do? Oh, you accidentally closed it. No. Undo close tab.
Was it there?
Yeah, it was there.
I hate that they moved it over here.
Yep.
Terrible user interface. So yeah, this guy, for whatever reason, so when you're born as a penguin, you have the soft downy fur, like ducks. And then as you get older, you molt that out and you get the waterproof stuff.
He never got it.
I don't know why, but he's just not getting his waterproof fur. And so they have to take care of him and all.
He's a mutant.
No.
Yeah, they said it'd probably be a few months before he would be safe to put back in the ocean.
At which point he's going to be telling all his penguin friends, it's like, no, dude. I saw they had this piece of glass and there was this crazy, weird, glossy penguin on it. And they're like, dude, you're high.
And then all the other penguins are like, back up. What's glass?
I was going to go somewhere else far darker with that, which is, his fur is not coming in right. So he's in danger of freezing to death. No problem. We'll turn up the CO2 emissions.
Well, he's in Australia.
More hungry polar bears, though.
Wasn't it closed up though, right? The hole above Australia.
Yeah, the ozone hole, yeah. But now our magnetic field's collapsing, so that's fine.
But that's over South America.
Wait, so just for a minute, let's talk about the polar, the poles and stuff. Are they reversing, or are they just weakening? What's happening?
They do. No, that's not what that is. But they do reverse every so many years, and I think we're due one, right?
Yeah.
That'll be the November event.
That's just
the
a
global
weakening.
November.
Because that's not near the poles.
Yeah, it's weirdly it's near South America and Africa.
They also move.
Yeah. Oh, the poles?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They shift constantly. How do magnets? How do they work? We don't even know. This is a story about a very stupid woman doing a very stupid thing, maybe to get attention, but I think she regrets it. Oh, this is making noise, isn't it? Something else is making noise.
No.
Is it the penguin story?
Hello?
Yeah. Can you
No,
hear me?
something else is making noise. Oh, it's this one. It's Times of India. Damn you, Times of India.
Oh.
That's why you tune in, folks. Right there. That.
Just find it.
Right. Back to the meat. This very stupid woman. I think she regrets it, and I believe that because the Facebook posts were embedded in this article, and this user has deleted their account.
Phallic meat-shaped prompts police investigation. Oh, phallic-shaped meat prompts police investigation. I don't know.
Police are spending time on that.
Yeah.
So she bought something that was like chicken butts. Was it chicken? Smoked turkey tails. That's what it was. Now, she thought she was getting smoked turkey tails, but the bag was labeled pork tails. But one of them, unlike all the others, looked like this. Note that there is a bone structure in that. But she, being quite anatomically ignorant and a general moron, said, What if this is a human penis?
Why does she jump to human is what I want to know. Like,
I don't know, but she felt that it was enough of a worry to contact law enforcement. And here's a video of the cops checking that out. There she is.
She didn't know.
Very
how many
worried.
cops did they send to that?
2.
Wow.
Well, I mean, what if it had? Well, what if it was a real thing? You don't know.
I do know.
I mean, that meatpacking plant could be run by the mob. That could be how they dispose of the bodies.
But I do know, once again, based on the bones that don't exist in the human penis. So yeah, she stuck by her guns for a while, but like I said, they embedded the Facebook here, and
something she saw on the internet made her think this was,
it's ridiculous. Although those cops, it's like, hey, we're getting paid either way.
Yeah.
Whatever. At least we're not being killed by rioters right now.
I love these stories from social media about how stories from social media eventually escalate into a police response.
Right. And the thing that blows my mind is that a lot of people who are out there, and I'm not a police supporter by any stretch of the imagination. I'm probably the most anti-police person on this broadcast for sure, by a long shot. But these people go out and they're like, we got to get rid of the cops. And then a tiny little thing happens. And what do? Every time, pick up that phone.
I've got this weird shaped piece of meat and bones. I think it's a murder.
The guy that was missing half of his arm on that video, real eager to get the cops there for some reason. Didn't want them defunded in that moment. So, in Japan, you can't just call the cops for every little thing. They don't put up with that nonsense. And when the monkeys come, what are you going to do? Cops aren't going to respond to monkey calls. You got to go for somebody else.
3 grannies in Japan called themselves monkey busters to ward off crop-eating monkeys with air guns. So, They have some really nice looking airsoft weapons. Really, I mean, they're grandmas and they shoot monkeys.
I didn't know before today this is what I wanted to be when I grew up. This is what I want to be when I grow up.
Now, the one on the right there, I don't know what you would call that stance. Probably chest pain. I guess there's not enough recoil off of the airsoft to cause any problems. But yeah, so this is a small town, and they got a monkey problem. And if you live in this town, you got a garden, you see some monkeys, you call them up, they'll drop whatever they're doing and grab their arsenal and come and wreck those monkeys.
You take the snack, you get the clap.
I wonder if that means that the monkeys will just continue to get more and more aggressive.
A fed monkey is a dead monkey? Is that what you're saying?
You think they're going with like full CO2?
Probably, yeah.
Fed bear's
You
a
think
dead bear.
the monkeys are just hanging out with little BBs under their skin all the time? Like, curse those women. I like to see them escalate to compound bows. I think that would get the job done.
I think. What about the if one of the monkeys like gets really aggressive? It's not an airsoft is not going to stop it. Like if it's really angry and it's like.
It sounds like you're advocating for bayonets, which I like where you're going. Yeah, a monkey would just rip their arms off.
Yeah,
monkeys are strong. So yeah, in Japan you can roll around with airsofts and shoot monkeys because they got a little bit more freedoms. But you take a little tiny boat trip over to Hong Kong, and some seemingly everyday items are no longer allowed.
Yeah.
Which I don't think there are any specific laws against this. It's just that they were like, yeah, we're sure we knew what you were going to do with that.
In a first, a man has been jailed for possessing cable ties. He was found guilty of possession of a weapon and intent to cause a disruption.
I don't think they called it a weapon, did they?
Yeah, no, it was labeled a weapon because he had
How can it be a weapon, though? It's really something that you use to tie someone down with.
Oh, yeah, offensive weapon. Or other instrument. So I guess that's an other instrument.
Yeah, for unlawful purposes. He had 48 zip ties. And they were like, oh, he's going to zip tie barriers together. It's like, okay, but you didn't show intent. That's how dicey things are in Hong Kong right now.
He showed up to a protest with them in his pocket. That was all the intent they needed in that court.
It's kind of horrifying, really.
Now, what could you be doing with 48 cable ties?
Well, you have I've carried around that many just to have.
What if he bought them that day?
They mentioned he's a real estate agent, though. Like, this is the kind of stuff you do when you're moving a lot. Like, maybe he gives them out to clients. It's like, oh, hey, we're getting ready to move in. And, like, maybe he has, like, a package he makes.
Or zip tying, like, some promotional material up.
Yeah.
Shipping it out.
Yeah.
Gonna zip tie some posters.
Yeah, that's a tough one. I think the message there is not, like, zip ties aren't allowed. The message is, don't go to protests.
Yeah.
Or we will find a reason.
That's the intended message, yeah. It doesn't matter if you weren't doing anything illegal. We will find something, which kind of sounds familiar.
This is my favorite story of the week and our final story. And I'm going to start not with the headline, but with the image in question. And if you think that has to be fake, I showed this to several people because I love sharing this link. And everybody was like, that's Photoshopped. Nope, it's not.
It's not.
I like the headline there, or the crawl. Fiery but mostly peaceful protests after police shooting. That looks like a war zone back there. Really? I mean, is this... it's Kenosha, Washington? I'm sorry, I thought that said Kosovo.
Wisconsin. Don't correct him.
Wisconsin.
Yeah, and so he is literally... There are burned out husks of cars and smoke and just, horror in the background. But it's mostly peaceful. And the headline is basically just,
CNN panned for on-air graphic reading fiery but mostly peaceful protest. What was it the Iraq minister, the communications minister was like, oh, that's just shock and awe. There's nothing going on in the background. It's totally fine.
What does it take before we just declare that there's some sort of war going on? Like,
they also pointed out they ran another headline. This was also CNN. Yeah. 8 p.m. curfew ordered after violent protests, and then somebody got a tap on the shoulder. They had to take the word violent out because the protests weren't violent. 3 people were shot and 1 man died, but it wasn't violent. we can't call it that. It was peaceful, mostly peaceful. There were some fires.
So I think this past weekend, which was like a week ago when they're watching this, there was the March on Washington. Did that generate anything?
I don't know if it was in Washington or in Wisconsin, but somebody else got killed last night.
I don't think it was in Washington. Washington, D.C.
Yeah,
It's weird how there's like a huge march there and like no one's really reporting on it.
But someone definitely got shot last night and died.
Wasn't it Portland? I feel like it's every city now. It's like, I don't know.
This is not... It's disturbing on many levels because the information is polluted and like what's happening, there's no honesty around anything.
Well, it's not only polluted, but they're just not showing us most of it anymore.
There's only so many Twitter trends I can watch trying to find live streams.
I think maybe like 5 people owning all forms of U.S. media was perhaps a bad idea.
Yeah. And the one mega
that's why
company.
You can get your news from here.
Well, but which is owned by one of the mega companies that censors the hell out of it.
We don't know either. Like, you could dig into this kind of thing, and like you just keep digging, and it's just a rabbit hole of insanity. Because like you read a thing, and it's like, oh, that's outrageous, and then you go read, and then you actually watch a bunch of like really unsettling videos, like super like nightmare fuel videos. And then it's like, I don't think that's what happened at all.
You think it's a rabbit hole, but then once you get down in there, it's filled with snakes. And they're angry.
I don't know. Like,
Krista, give us a mostly peaceful goodbye.
Bye!
Bye!
How great would it be if you just smashed that?
Oh, I would not smash him.
Are you going to have like, are you going to be able to carve him? Or are you going to love him too much?
No, I'll definitely do something. I don't know if I'm going to carve him or if I'm going to use him for food. I haven't decided yet.
You could make pumpkin seeds.
I might plant some. I actually might save some. I'm going to save some pepper seeds for next year as well.
Oh.
I think when we carved ours, we still used the inside for pumpkin pie somehow.
Yeah.
I know a lot of times we used to save the
Scoop
seeds
them
and then
out.
roast them for a snack.
You gonna keep the genetics going? What are you gonna call your strain of pumpkin?
Mini. I think this was a sugar pie pumpkin or something like that. I can't remember the name. So it'd be like baby sugar pumpkin.
Sugar baby.
Oh, that's cute. That probably already exists, but
Yeah, we're reinventing.
I don't know.
What's
all right.
name?
That's it. That's the end of our program.
Thank you all. Thanks again, Linode. We'll see you next week.